pleasure to welcome Deborah Jordan to the show. And you've been very active in Luzerne County with election integrity issues, and really happy to see you. Thank you for coming on the show.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah. Now, last night we all had a chance to watch the debate between the vice presidential candidates, Tim Walz from Minnesota and J.D. Vance from Ohio. You want to share any thoughts about that?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm trying to perfect the J.D. Vance sideways glance because I think that was really awesome. But I thought that Vance was really spot on with his answers.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about him. I do like him now. I'm not a very trusting person, unfortunately, ever since a lot of the current events happen. It takes me a long time to fully back someone. So I'm going to do some more research. And of course, his actions will speak louder than words.
Right.
But I do believe that Walz, a lot of, you could only hide and disguise so much deception. And, when it came out even about the abortions post-birth, I think he did a lot of tripping over his own words. And when it gets into fact checking, I mean, legislation is easily checkable. And you can see that what he has agreed to after an abortion is not what he portrayed last night.
Yeah, well, I mean, politicians are good at kind of shifting attention if they don't want to answer a question. And so not surprised. I do notice that thinking about the candidates for past 20 years or so, the Democrats candidates are very good at rhetoric, and Republican candidates often are not that. I mean, J.D. Vance actually was very skilled, but thinking Trump and George W. Bush, they're not that articulate many cases. But their actions, like you say, the actions are what you need to look at. And I was happy that J.D. Vance kept on pointing out that Kamala Harris she's not representing something new. She's been there for 3.5 years, and she has a record that they don't want anyone to look at her record because it's so, I mean, basically we don't even have a southern border. There's so many issues that I almost think, the Republicans should be way, way, way ahead. And the fact that we're kind of neck and neck is a little bit disappointing. But we have a media that is constantly attacking President Trump. But and I think in a fair election, I think we would be confident to win. But then there's the cheating factor. So that's why I want to talk to you about this issue of, do we have fair elections? Can we trust even the voter database? I think that the SURE system is something that you've looked into, right?
Exactly. So if you don't mind, though, one of the things that you spoke of that I would just like to give a little story on, and I'd like to start with, is you mentioned the Republican versus the Democrat, almost like their character. Like, it's hard for what I see firsthand in people that I know, either conservative or independent, but they're constitutionalists. And we just have a problem to, number one, it's hard to lie. It's hard to spin things. We just want things factual. We want things right. And it's hard for us to see kind of, I'll use the word evil for lack of a better word. So that we have to train ourselves to get better at doing. And I don't mean lie. I mean, we have to get better at pointing out the lies. And when we debate, we need to be ready with facts. We have to be able to cite things like court cases, and just really be able to, I always say, speak like a founding father. So we can't get emotional. We have to debate and discourse things properly, which kind of leads me to a little story I have. It's kind of sad, but it's true. So what our group does is we work with the voter rolls on a first-hand basis. We get the inaccuracies and we canvass door to door. Addresses that people have moved. We take paperwork from the voter rolls confirming why we're at people's front door. So anyway, about 2 days ago, I'm out doing this. I'm canvassing the voter roll inaccuracies and I'm campaigning for Trump. So I get a red flag on my paper that says, this is a person that moved from this address, and the person that lives there is not the voter on the rolls. And visually, I see a Harris sign in the yard and at a Republican address, supposedly. So I knock on the door and a young man answers the door. And when I say young, I say about 35 to 40. So I tell him that I'm there because of the red flag and I want to help him fix his voter roll inaccuracies. Now, he's a Democrat. I could have just turned my head and walked the other way, but morally, that's not right. So I helped this young man, got him, gave him the link. He's going to go in and update. And then I said to him, now for the hard part. I said, I see you have a Harris sign. I said, can you please just tell me why, convince me why I'm doing something wrong and leaning towards Trump. And he said to me, because Trump is a monster. And I said, well, why, is he a monster? And he said, well, he hates gays and he hates trans and he's hurting the future of the children. And I said, okay, good enough. Can you tell me some firsthand experiences? Can you point out some resources to back this up? I said, I'm really interested. And he said, well, yes, I went to the Bloomsburg Fair, a big event in our area. And he said, and I was accosted. And I said, you were accosted by Trump at the Bloomsburg Fair? And he's like, no. He goes, listen, lady, I have to go finish my ice cream and I don't want to hear your spiel anymore. And I said, okay, that's fair. I'll pray for you. He asked me not to pray for him. I still will. But that unfortunate event, now it could have got me all rattled, but it didn't, because I thought, here is a man age 35 to 40. Now, I don't know, living with his mom. She was the one that had the property, according to him. And, middle of the day, maybe he works night shift. I don't know. But just, he has to go back and have his ice cream because, I wanted policy. Why? Convince me why Harris is better. Convince me her energy policy. Convince me her policy to stop any further escalations, military. There was nothing. The emptiness. I only thought this was, people were just saying this online. This is true. This is who they are. They go on emotion. They go on emptiness. And, I really left there feeling bad. It was so sad that this young man, and, when he said about the future of children, and this might be, I don't know how you could take this, but when he spoke about trans and homosexuals, I'm fine with that. There are people that are gay in my family and it's cool. I love them. They love me. But do they not realize 2 men or 2 women, there is no future for children because they're not producing any children.
That's right. Absolutely. The thing is that they call Donald Trump Hitler. They call him a threat to democracy, and they keep on repeating. I mean, I have to say, I am impressed by the discipline of the Mockingbird media in slandering the name of Donald Trump. They are consistent. I mean, if you go to this channel, that channel, they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
He's a threat to democracy. He's a threat to the human race. He loves Vladimir Putin. I mean,
well, that's a combination, in my opinion, of laziness and fear.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to open their eyes and get off their Xbox or whatever they're doing to realize, they don't even have to get a book. They don't even need a dictionary, but they could go online and look up the true definition of fascism, which is the collaboration of state and private business to overtake society for the good of the elites, let's say, for lack of a better word. And if people don't see things right in front of their face, I don't know if we could ever get through to them. I mean, you know, there's a feel in the air of uncertainty. Like you said about media, we don't know really what's right and wrong. We do know the prices of energy. We do know the prices of food. I mean, if you can't see and feel it in front of your face, then it's going to take a little more loving care and persuasion, you know, to get people to realize it. I'm not saying that, you know, like I started earlier, I'm not very trusting of anybody, Republicans or Democrats at this point, but we have to just combine the facts with our gut feelings and make the best choice we can.
Well, you know, I hope that people look at what the reality in front of their faces, because if they do that, I think they'll draw the conclusion that you're suggesting, which is things have gotten worse under Biden Harris.
Yes.
You know, I read a couple days ago that Google, if you do a search for President Donald Trump, it comes up with all these negative articles about him. And then way below is his actual campaign. So Google is
Right, which,
biased.
you know, that's another thing that I see, that, you know, that's up to the person. Like, you know, it's what, you know, what that's saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. Well, if someone's still using Google and or Gmail, I hate to say it, you really shouldn't. I mean, I don't use Facebook, and I won't, because I can't be a hypocrite. Because
Right.
I see, even we had a local election here, a very important primary. And like I said, I'm not on Facebook, but my good, close friends are, that help us with our constitutional conservative group. They would post things about locally, about two Republican candidates, and boom, Facebook gone. So I can't be a hypocrite and use Facebook because of what they're doing. So it's almost like, I know people use it for businesses, I get that. And because of the regulations we have in this country, you know, the FCC and everything else, it's very hard for us to overcome the censorship. We basically have to think way out of the box with everything anymore.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't mind, Richard, let me just get into some of the reason I do the voter rolls door to door, and I try to point out the inaccuracy. So from our own government in Pennsylvania in 2019, some people are aware that they did the Assure System audit. Now, a lot of people, I'm surprised, don't know the bullet points that came out of this that are disturbing. And I know it was 2019, that's 5 years ago, but when I did research on this audit, which is facts right from our Pennsylvania government, before I did a little talk to get these points across to the public, I just want to say that I called the Auditor General's office. That's who performed the audit. I spoke to their staff. I wrote an email I have in writing, and I can assure you that, let me just look at my notes here, that the General's office, I asked if there was a more recent audit. There is not. I asked them if they fixed the deficiencies in the 2019 audit, and they told me no. So before anybody says that's an old audit, you didn't, I called them and got it in writing and verbally. So let's get into just, this might be a little dry, so I'll try to go.
No.
Okay.
We're nerds here. We love
Oh, good. I love nerds. So now this is the auditor. This isn't just somebody on the street. This is our own government found tens of thousands of duplicate and inaccurate voter rolls. Breaking it down further, 51,000 cases of driver's license numbers and date of birth inaccuracies. Back in 2019, 3,000 deceased voters on the rolls, and very disturbing, 97,000 inactive voters still on the rolls that should have been canceled. Now, if you add all them up, that's hundreds of thousands of inaccuracies.
which
per our
could,
government.
which can be exploited, right? I mean,
Exactly.
other people can take those names, even
Yes.
names of dead people, and vote in their name, and Pennsylvania
Well,
would say
yes,
that's okay, right?
exactly. So in addition to just these staggering numbers, there was problems. Actually, they bullet, it was a huge article, it was a huge report, like 200 and some pages. But some other things that really that I'd like to get across to the people listening is even the application process. And here are the things that stand out. And I would like to say before I go further, if you don't already have this SURE 2019 audit, SURE audit downloaded on your computer or on your phone, do so, because it's good to have. The information. So let's talk about the application process. Okay, number one, there are no stopgate features to prevent the inclusion of duplicate license numbers. So when this information is data entered, there's no red flag. Duplicate
Really?
driver light, boom, they could just keep adding them. Number two, no hard stop features for duplicate social security numbers.
You're kidding.
No, I'm
That's
completely honest. No edit checks in place to ensure an applicant's address is in the correct county or even in the correct state. Now, this is right from the audit, black and white. Additionally, this is a big one currently. There's an oversight that allows non-citizens the ability to register to vote at PennDOT's licensed centers, even though they are not citizens. So the good news is, I believe the thing that Shapiro did with the automatic, now you had to opt out of registering at the DMV. I believe that's been in the news and they're going to make him rescind that. So when you go to a DMV, you used to have to opt in. He changed it that, of course, you automatically were, registered to vote and you had to opt out. So there's some good news, at least on that point. So after I said that, you think, well, that's pretty disturbing, but
although, okay, but of course he's not going to remove the thousands of people who already registered who were not
right,
citizens. So I
exactly,
would
right.
correct
So
that.
we're playing catch up
Right.
once again. So now you hear all that, but here's even more disturbing. Okay, the information in the SURE system is not in a read-only format. So that means that employees, they can change vital information. They could go in and change social security numbers, driver's license, date of birth, etc. So it's like when you send a document, let's say you produced an article, a paper, a thesis, you would have it in a read-only format. So someone else can't go in and change it. That's not how our system is.
That is insane. Well, I mean, I shouldn't be
I
surprised.
know, I know.
Government
The
is,
gas, yeah.
I mean, it is shameful. I mean, they just brought in a few people from the private sector who actually know about these issues. It could be improved in maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Exactly. So, and speaking of the read-only format, the report went on to say, and I apologize for looking at my notes, but it's just too much information to keep up here. The report says that 20 other people outside of county employees have access to these records, including at that time, there was even a non-Commonwealth employee that could get into these records, utilize the lack of read-only format and change things. So, okay. Let me pick out some more things that people might want to, if and when they do download this report, kind of be aware of. So cyber attacks. They spoke on critical infrastructure, which our elections are, and they spoke of the threat of cyber attacks, which really leads me to, okay, I thought we weren't connected to the internet. Okay, I get it. You have to upload information and there has to be some kind of something. I'm not a technological expert, but if I quote right from the report, so this is from a technical expert. Let me just see here. In 2019, the Senate Select Committee reported that all 50 states' election systems were scanned by foreign agents to subvert our elections. Okay. Now, this is right from the report, all 50 states. The report goes on to say that the Department of State failed to enact proper policies to secure vital election information. And I'm going to quote, without adequate security, the voter rolls may be vulnerable to fraud, manipulation, deletion, and extraction by malicious actors with the intent to disrupt elections across Pennsylvania. That is directly from the audit. Now, why don't we as taxpayers know this? Why are we using a broken SURE system, basically unusable, basically probably detrimental more than unusable? So when I looked through all that, I got to the end of, getting all these facts, and I thought, well, at least this audit points out the problems, and at least now going forward, we can fix them. But guess again, the audit revealed that the Department of State denied access to critical documents. They refused to provide necessary information to comply with government auditing standards. And our very own DMV, that is very much involved in voter registration, rebuffed any questions or any requests to give access to motor vehicle source documents. So we have our own government pointing out the flaws, their admission of major flaws, and bullet pointing what I said, brought out earlier, both the number of problems, inaccuracies, and why these inaccuracies exist, meaning no stopgate features, no read-only format, no red flags popping up. So it leads me to ask, like, why? We're not... If they say, election deniers, then we'll just prove to your it's not like two people are there's
Absolutely.
show
us where we're wrong.
Exactly. Right? They were saying, well, there was no there were very few court cases to uphold any accusations of voter fraud during the election in 2020. Fine, if that's what they say. Okay, then why didn't they even take on, at least have a court case? And, they just didn't even, no, we're not taking those cases on. That to me is bothersome.
Yeah, many of the court cases, the judges said, you don't have standing, so we're not going to even have the court case. Or in many cases, they said, we're not going to look at the evidence.
Exactly.
And so,
right.
Yeah, so they're delay. I'm sure you know Greg Stenstrom, and he and Leah, they actually got a judge. They were sued for defamation by one of the Democrat lawyers, and then the Philadelphia judge actually admonished, sanctioned the lawyer for lying in court, misrepresenting many issues. And I think he might have even been lost his license to practice in Pennsylvania, but I have to check about that.
Right.
But the judge, our judicial system actually is very flawed. It's very, many people think that having elected judges leads to various because judges then become dependent on campaign donations. So that means that they may be pleasing their donors. I mean, there are a lot of issues.
There really is, and I'll be the first to admit I did not, at least 4 years ago when I started all this, realize how important judgeships really truly are. Right. And I'm talking from the local level all the way up. I mean, it was just something that people, I don't think about. Oh, even the way we vote them in, we retain them, we vote to retain them. Is that a good way to do it? Or if it is the proper way to do it when we have the retention vote, it just makes people not really look into things like, who really is this judge? What are his past rulings? So the retention to keep judge question, it's probably a double-edged sword, and it prevents us from doing any research that we should. Something else that you just mentioned about Greg and Leah. So thank God, seriously, for them, because it kind of leads me to something that's been, I've been coming to the conclusion lately. And I can speak even of them, what they went through, what I saw, what they went through, all the adversity and all the badness. Okay, that could have just pushed anybody over the edge and, say, I can't do this. And right there, and I'm going to use the word evilness again, for lack of a better word. If a person does that, evilness wins. And I am starting to change my point of view that when bad things do happen, I'm not going to focus on the bad thing. I'm going to focus on, where do I find the light in this bad thing that happened? And I think Leah and Greg did that. When they got sued for defamation, boy, they could have said, okay, that's it, I'm not whatever. But they saw that by being sued was going to bring to light
That's right.
the truth.
They had to have, now they could have access to evidence. So they said,
Yes.
okay, bring it on.
We have to take that adversity and not cower away from it. We have to take that adversity and find what's going to shine light on things and help ourselves and our other fellow man. And it's hard to do that. Like, I really had to and still have to, like, train myself. A lot of things is, something that happens and, oh, the world's ending and we're just going to go and be in a little bubble. But then basically we're snuffing out the light, and we really have to start to realize bad things are going to happen. Life is hard, but it's our job to show the light and the goodness even during bad situations.
Yeah, I was knocking on a few doors a few days ago, and I ran into this one man who is a conservative. He knows that Donald Trump would be the best candidate, but then he said, but it's not worth voting because, it's all rigged. And I said, I wanted to shake him because, yes, we know that they're cheating. We know that. But if we don't even vote, then they've won by default.
Well, I have a firsthand account of how important that is. So I vetted and backed a candidate for, I live in the 117th legislative district, and during the primary, between the two Republicans, our group is called Council of American Patriots. We vet candidates, and if they pass the test, we back them. And that race came down to 4 votes, with our candidate winning.
Wow.
So anybody that says to me, I'm not voting, like you said, I think a good shaking is in order, because we have the receipts. I mean, 4 votes. And if it was just by the grace of God that, our guy came out on top, and he is truly a constitutional conservative, will follow the Constitution to a fault. So.
And I think you're talking about Jamie Walsh, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, we need to get him. We need to vote for him on November 5th. So.
Yes, exactly. If you're in the 117th, please, yes, vote for Jamie. And that's the other thing too. Like, it's hard. I mean, like we said a little earlier, fighting against wrong is hard. Finding the energy and the time and the strength to door knock or run for an office, any of that, it's hard. But we just have to find the strength. And, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's a half hour, people just have to realize that civically, a republic is not meant to just function without the people's input. We just have to dig deep.
And there's so many like phone apps that you can join, like Easy Vote Action or Trump Force 47, that allow you to make phone calls. You could make phone calls for 15-20 minutes a day. There's so many things making it easier. you know, the silver lining of the stolen 2020 election, I do believe it was stolen, but it opened our eyes to the level of corruption, which we would never have known about it. And a lot of things are coming out. And
Right. Well, it always amazes me that when Act 77 was passed,
right.
I was not really at that time paying attention much to politics. And 'cause that was 2019. And when I look back at how and why that even passed, with the Republican, so many Republicans for it. But, then again, it goes back to, where was I? I wasn't paying attention.
Right.
It's my fault too that that passed. And now trying to get something like, we have petitioned our legislators that the Act 77 is not good for our Commonwealth, and they don't want to hear it. And it's an uphill battle where it could have been a more
Right.
even playing field if we would have been paying attention.
Yeah.
And I can only speak for myself, but if I would have been paying attention then, we wouldn't be, maybe collectively, if we would have all paid attention, it would be a different time right now.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't paying attention that much either. But by the way, where can we find that report, the audit of the shore system that you mentioned? Where do
Okay,
you know where
so
we can get that?
I know I have the link on my computer somewhere, but by the time I find it, it'll be 2025. So if
Okay.
you just go and look up 2019 PA shore audit report, it should
Okay.
pop up.
Okay.
Another thing though I'd like to add is it is a lot. I think it was either 100 or 297 pages. So what I did was I compressed that into a manageable report. And I don't know how I could share that with everyone, but I would be glad to, uh, you know, basically share and streamline that report so it could be usable to the viewers.
Well, we can post that on we can post that on coalitionforelectionintegrity.org,
Okay,
a website, and the freedomfaithandfamily.org. Yeah, so we will definitely post that if you
I
send it to
will.
me, that would be
Absolutely.
awesome.
I
Yeah,
will, absolutely.
yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much. I appreciate all that you're doing, and Luzerne County is a very important county in this election, and I think they ran out of paper last time, so hopefully,
Yeah, there's constant issues, but we're, you know, just trying to constantly be on the issues. And my dream would be to kind of be ahead of the game, just preemptively for once. It's, I feel like like I said before, we're always playing catch up. But now, even though there are some current issues still going on, there is a supposed, well, backlog of voter registrations. We had Scott Pressler come to Luzerne and garner up thousands of applications, but supposedly they are sitting on a desk without the proper amount of staff to get this task accomplished. Our group volunteered. We don't even want to get paid. If they can't have to, they could pay us $1, but we'll gladly, go get this data input it to the computer. So we're fighting that right now. And we also have a Dropbox issue going on. I would like to say though, I was very disturbed by something that came out of Lackawanna County. And is that your county, Richard?
no, but please tell us.
Well, it was the commissioner meeting. Commissioner Gogan, however you say his name, Gaughan, basically, at a commissioner meeting, when a few people in the audience spoke about their concerns over election integrity, he publicly denounced them as convicted felons, and we shouldn't be listening to convicted felons who are
Really?
yes. Now, one of them did have something on his record. I don't know if it was related to maybe a J6 type thing. And the other person wasn't even a convicted felon. They did have some kind of misdemeanor for January 6th. They were there.
Well,
So he basically publicly embarrassed and denigrated these people. And
well,
it just is so disturbing that a human being could do that to another human being.
well, the founders of our country were felons. They were
Exactly.
traitors to the British Crown,
Yes.
and they would have been executed had we lost the war. So I would
You're
say
right.
you're in pretty good company if you have been
That's
convicted
what
for being at the Capitol on January 6th,
yeah,
then you're a hero in my book.
Yep, that's kind of what my thought was. These convicted felons or whatever he called them, I know a few others, and they were called our founding fathers, and they were the ones that stood up to the true tyranny. So, yep, you hit that right on. So,
Right. Well, thank you again, Deborah Jordan, and we look forward to getting your report, and we'll post it on our websites. And thank you for all you're doing.
oh, you're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome, and thank you as well. Thank you.